Hello and good morning, everyone. It's Sunday.
It
Did
is.
have we chosen violence yet? Are we?
It is going to be a violent show today.
It is. I feel
It's,
like it's gonna be a good show though. I think it's good violence, good trouble.
you say that. You say that. But
Yeah.
you know what book we have to talk about today.
Oh my God, you're right. Okay,
We're
so we have
finally free and there's going to be violence. So,
there's there's one book that we have hated for quite a while, and then there's another book that I think totally makes up for it, like
mhm.
100%. But Mars, how are you? How have you been doing this week?
um not so great. And I was going to lie, but I can't lie to everybody that's here cuz I love everybody too much. Not great, but that's okay because at the end of the day it's okay to not be okay.
Exactly. Uh, I'm in the same boat for a different reason. I can't move my neck like past like
She was
right.
reading too many comics.
I was reading too many comics. I was aggressively reading comics, and my neck chose violence. So, anyways, I'm hurt. But, anyways, I hope everyone had a pretty good week. I actually, this last week, before I get into like saying hi, before I go into like saying like hi to people in the chat and we get into news, I actually got a chance to see one of my like favorite bands that I feel like defines me as a person. This past week, I went and saw Bauhaus. It was all the original
I'm
members.
dying inside.
And one of them, the bassist, actually lives here. So I went and saw Bauhaus, and that was just an absolutely incredible show. Yeah, it was great. Like part of like the like goth girl, teenager checklist. Went and saw Bauhaus. So next on the list is Sisters of Mercy, and I don't know if Susie does any type of touring anymore, but Sisters of Mercy is like my next. I would love to see them live.
I'm jealous.
Coming to Portland. Anyways, I'll go ahead and say hello to a couple people in the chat. And here, almost always first is comic book community hype person, TM afternoon. All you amazing people showing up for Casually Comics. I just want to like leave that up there forever and ever. I love that. Thank you. Hello to Niall. Hello, everyone. We've got Carrie, officially unofficial geek. Come forth, all faithful, to the Sunday Comic Church. Hi, y'all. And then we've got James Phelp, afternoon, Jennifer and Mars. And hello to John Stout. Thank you so much for being here. And then Jenny's Comic Life, fashionable late. Yeah.
So
we've
were
got
we.
Yeah. We've definitely got to talk. We have to talk backstage a little bit about things. So, had to take a few extra moments here. Stapled Spine, has the show started? Am I going crazy? The show has finally started. We're here. Bizarro Effect, hi all. Hi all. That's an Our Flag Means Death reference, because everything is at this point. John Stout says, put my comics are for everyone decal on the car yesterday. Yes. I've been,
Pictures.
I know.
Pictures or it didn't happen.
Yeah. We've been loving those. I live for those. So thank you. Miss So, afternoon all. Let's see who else we've got here. JT, hello. Howdy, friends. Jen, switch your hair to the other side. Fixed. Yeah, exactly. So like this side is carrying all my hair, I guess. And then one of my favorite people on the entire planet. Howdy, my beautiful ladies. Wonderful chat. Hello, Tashina. Thank you so much for being here, you beautiful, beautiful goddess. Manic 23, Goth Punk Gods. Yeah, Bauhaus was absolutely incredible. Absolutely phenomenal show. Top of their game, played all the great, like perfect songs. It was great. Am I missing anyone? I think everyone's just saying hi to everyone. It was wonderful to see Mars in my chat this morning. Thank you for coming, Mars.
I was finally able to make it. Listen, I've been trying to make them every week that you've been doing them, but Sundays are usually my I need to read everything before our own show type day, and I usually don't have time to do both, but I got in a little early today, so I'm glad I was able to make part of the show.
Excellent. Well, I know that there's a lot. I feel like there's a lot of news. There's a lot of like varied stuff. It's not just like one thing. But let's get into some news. What's going on in comic book
A
land?
lot of news. So I think the first thing is the biggest thing that people have been talking about, and no, it's not a marvelous giant green lady. We'll get to that in a bit. The biggest thing everybody was talking about start of the week is there was an announcement made over Stan Lee's likeness and the licensing of his likeness, which basically stated a 10-year contract to use his likeness in the Stan Lee universe for movies, TVs, theme parks, and everything else. And it is just, I don't know. It ain't right. I don't
Yeah.
have anything more to say than that. It ain't right.
It Yeah, so like, when you see Stan Lee in a Marvel movie, like he does the little cameo, if you didn't know, Stan Lee passed away in 2018. So he's been gone for a couple years now. And Marvel, it's Marvel who has the rights to this now, right? Or at least some
I'm
type of
not even
usage.
sure if it's Marvel or if it's just an entire separate company. It's just saying Stan Lee Universe. So it
Yeah.
very well could be Marvel having a partial hold on it. Very well could be just his estate. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah. I remember reading a while back something about how um was it Bruce Lee, um, the martial arts actor? Uh, he was offered something so that like he could be filmed doing martial arts, but he actually ended up declining it because he realized that if they were able to take this, they were able to take like these specific moves that he had created. So he said no for very specific reasons. But I'm not necessarily, I feel like this is what Stanley would have wanted. Like, I don't think he would have necessarily opposed to this because he was that figurehead. But whether it's Stanley's estate doing it, whether it's Marvel doing it, I feel like taking literally this figurehead of someone who shaped the comics industry as we know it and just parading like Weekend at Bernie's. That's what it feels like. It feels like they're
Yeah.
Weekend at Bernie Stanley
Stanley.
right now. That's what it feels like to me.
It does. It does. And kind of off topic, but kind of the same topic. I feel like we're seeing something very similar over at DC with DC
George.
solicitations. I had texted you about this. DC solicitations dropped this week, and down at the very bottom was a all new 2022 printing of the George Perez Wonder Woman omnibus. And it just makes me think because, as we all know, if you don't know, you're going to hear it now. Unfortunately, George Perez, legendary comic artist and creator, passed away 2 weeks ago. And DC thinks that it's okay to just immediately reprint his work. And granted, I get it. A lot of people, when somebody passes, they want to go and see their work. But we just got a reprinting of George Perez's Wonder Woman not a year ago. And we're going through and it's the branding of all new 2022 edition. The fact that you did it 2 weeks after this man died,
Yeah.
you couldn't even wait 6 months. And, if they had done it in a couple of months, I probably wouldn't have thought much of it. I would have thought, oh, it's just another reprinting. The fact that it is so soon to the announcement of his death, and it almost feels, and I'm going to get a little bit morbid here, it almost feels like DC planned this. As soon as they had the announcement that George Perez was sick,
Yeah.
it's like they went in and they planned, okay, we're going to re-release the omnibus as soon as he passes. And that's exactly what it feels like, unfortunately. So,
And I feel like I'm really glad that the JLA Avengers got printed before he passed away, but I do feel like I know that these things take time. I know that a lot of times we may see them now, but they could have been in development for over a year or longer. So it could be something that was in development, but I feel like it would have been respectful to at least hold off
on the
for a little bit
announcement.
on the
Mm-hmm.
announcement, or
Absolutely.
I don't know if it was like it was a race where it's like we want him to see this reprinted again in a nicer way before he passed away, but I don't know. I'm not the inner workings.
It doesn't seem that way. And unfortunately, it's a matter of in this industry, I wish we would see our creators paid more when they're still alive rather than after they've passed.
Yep. And that's why I think Jack Kirby said comics will break your heart. Comics will break your heart, y'all.
Facts.
What other news do we have? What else is happening in
Other news we have, this one comes down from Virginia Beach. Apparently, there is a Virginia lawyer who is suing a Barnes and Noble for carrying the book Genderqueer, which is one of your favorites. You actually did a book club for it over on Comic
I
Shop
loved
News a
it.
couple months ago. But they are suing for carrying such a abhorred and or untasteful book that can get into the hands of their children.
Yeah.
And I'm over it. I'm tired. No one is forcing you to read these books.
Yeah.
No one said pick it up off the shelf and open it. If you don't listen, if you're the type of person that wants to sue a book called Genderqueer, you're definitely not picking up a book called Genderqueer off the shelf and opening its pages and getting so upset that you decide to sue.
But what's sad is that those are the people who probably need it the most. Like I said this on the book club about genderqueer. I don't necessarily think that genderqueer the only people who need to read a book like that are people who are maybe questioning their like gender identity or anything like that. But I
Mm-hmm.
do think that genderqueer is for people who just need to learn more, who are like, maybe I have a queer youth in my life, maybe a trans kid, maybe a questioning
Yeah.
kid. I honestly think that everyone should read Genderqueer because, if for nothing else, it's a beautiful, beautiful
And it's informative
autobiography.
too.
Mhm.
And what makes matters worse is apparently this lawyer, I guess I don't know if lawyers write manifestos. I don't know what lawyers do. Listen, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not smart enough to be a lawyer. But apparently in her write-ups, she is apparently coming for Saga next. To Jen's
Listen,
responses.
listen, come for Saga. Come for Saga. The more that we all saw what happened with Mouse. We all saw what happened whenever that library in Tennessee tried to ban it. It sold out immediately. Everyone's reading it. Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
I know that I'm at my shop and I ended up buying a couple copies, and I'm like, whatever copies you have, buy it, give it to a youth that comes in. Listen, Saga is probably the most purchased book for me to give to people as gifts. Come for Saga, come for Genderqueer. It only gets us talking about it.
It does, but it just makes me think it's like who has this time? Who has the effort? How this book really affected you so much that you have to sue, and you're suing a corporation like Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah.
It's just really funny to me. And Carrie's asking, where was this in Virginia? Apparently it was down in Virginia Beach. So not sure political lines where that falls, but
Yeah.
it's a little ridiculous. And there was a couple other like books on the list, and some of these books are books that I had recognized that I can't figure out why they would be on there, because as far as I'm concerned, these are straight passing books.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just over it. I'm tired of banning books. Listen, we're in the year 2022. I think it's funny that people try to press free speech as much as they can.
Yeah.
But then as soon as we do get free speech out there and informative free speech, then all of a sudden, oh no, we can't have that. So obviously it's only free speech when it's your speech.
And I will admit, it's a tough line to toe, right? So here in Portland, there's a very big bookstore, Powell's. They've got a couple locations. They have a pretty big online store as well. And there is a white nationalist who is kind of local here, has done journalism. And whenever this person comes out with a new book, protests erupt because they're like, we don't need to see their book on the shelves. Like, free speech, whatever, but no, we don't need to see harmful ideology.
Mhm.
So I think it's like the conversation becomes who gets to decide what is harmful ideology, because these will be people like this person and this lawyer in Virginia will say, well, a book like Saga or a book like Genderqueer is harmful to whomever, but then be like, oh, it's okay to have like white nationalist stuff on the bookshelves, whenever that obviously causes a lot more direct harm than Saga or Genderqueer will ever do. So it's like, who gets to decide what is considered harmful, what is considered, not right to carry, because it's that paradox of tolerance, right? If we tolerate everyone, we end up tolerating the intolerant people as well. So do we really need to tolerate that? So maybe that's a conversation for another day. I would love to have it. But um, uh, just to bring it up, I would love to talk about this because it's pretty interesting. There's anyways. What other news do we
What
have
other news do we have?
other than people just trying to be dummies and
Dummies. Well, we do have some good news. So we covered this
what's the
a
good news?
couple.
That's what I need. I need the good
We need
news.
the good news. We covered this a couple months ago. Our pal Jared Lujan, who did Dryfoot over at Mad Cave Studios, self-published their own stories, Twin Swords, or Twin Swords or Twin Blades.
I think it was Twin Blades. Yep.
Twin Blades. I don't know. It's got a sharp, pointy end. But there was some stuff that came out with Jared Lujan about their book Crash and Troy, which was originally set to be published in Action Labs Comics. Apparently, there was some whole ordeal. We covered it in a previous episode where one day the books just showed up at the house. The publisher pulled the book because they kept holding on to the book, and Jared Lujan threatened legal action because the book was never going to be published. Good news. Crash and Troy is finally being published over at a Wave Blue World. I hate that publisher just solely for the name because it complicates me and confuses me. But a Wave Blue World has picked up Crash and Troy, and we are finally seeing a release for it this August, which is really, really exciting because I know it has been an uphill battle for Jared Lujan. And listen, this book is going to be rightfully deserved. So we need to all back it up, pre-order Crash and Troy. FOC is going to be hitting within the next couple weeks.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a really great sci-fi fun adventure that, it's a small indie press book. So of course we have to support it.
Yeah. And, to your point, a lot of times, local comic book shops, whether they're big or small, they don't always carry indie books. Like there's even a lot of like Image. When I think of what the biggest indie publisher is, I think Image, there's Vault, Boom, all of those. And I think a lot of times the even smaller ones get missed. So if supporting a creator like Jared Lujan, who he's absolutely great, Dryfoot was incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
If you want to see a book like Crash and Troy and you want to be like, I contributed to like an artist having some success, please pre-order it. Like your shop's got to know that you're pre-ordering it, that you want it, because if you go ahead and pre-order it, more than likely they'll be like, okay, well, if there's enough people pre-ordering it, it may be a pretty big book. Let me go ahead and order an extra 10 copies for the shelves. So please, please, please pre-order your book. Go ahead and pre-order Crash and Troy.
And on top of books that are finally getting a release date, we're finally seeing the release of End After End from Volt Comics.
I don't even know what this is.
This was supposed to be a high fantasy adventure that was supposed to come out last February or March. March came and went, and we never saw the release of End After End. There was no talks about it. I was convinced that this book was just never going to happen. Finally, with Volt solicitations this week, we got a final release date of August. So the covers are absolutely gorgeous. We have wonderful covers from Liana Kangas, and listen, I love high fantasy. So, and this book seems right up my alley. I was worried that this book was being replaced by Quest Aside, which we talked about last week, where Quest Aside is a little bit more funny and a little bit more meta. I think End After End is supposed to just be a really great high fantasy book. So excited for both of those to release in August.
End After End. And you said that the cover is done, or some of the covers are done by Liana Kangas. Who's the creative team on this one? Do you recall?
Creative team on this one, I do not. Listen, y'all know I'm bad at this one. Y'all know I'm so bad at this. Let's see if I can find something while we're here in the next 20 seconds. I am not, unfortunately. And it's sad because it's like I literally just had it pulled up and then it immediately disappeared. But End After End is being published by Volt Comics, so search up Volt Comics on their website and you'll definitely see it there.
Okay, excellent. We'll definitely be talking about it a little bit closer too. So, End After End. Once again, I'll give a full speech. If you want to see success, if you want to see the success of the comic book industry, I assure you, please go ahead and pre-order it. And especially if it ends up being a big book, you don't want to have to pay any more than cover price on the secondary market.
Absolutely. Carrie's kind of beat me to the punch
Yeah,
here. Listen, this was my next thing I was going to talk about. So Heartstopper, we finally saw the adaptation for the critically acclaimed. It was actually a webcomic turned graphic novel, one of my absolute favorite graphic novels of all time. It's a little queer romance story between two boys, Charlie and Nick. We saw the debut of that on Netflix last month. It absolutely crushed numbers. It's probably one of the most faithful comic graphic novel adaptation I've ever seen, down to the type of clothes that they're wearing in each scene.
And like even the little illustrations, like it'll be like a windy day and like little leaves will kind of go by, and it's just Alice Oseman is the creator, and man, I read the first volume, loved it. I think I'm maybe like halfway through the first season. I haven't finished it yet.
Oh, so good.
It's
But we got the announcement that not season 2, but season 3 as well. We're getting 3 whole seasons of Heartstopper, which, while I am excited about, because listen, I will take a million episodes of Heartstopper, I'm slightly concerned and slightly questionable because season 1, it feels like it covers both book 1 and book 2.
Yeah. So
I was assuming season 2 would cover book 3 and book 4, and book 5 is the last one set to come out later this year. So maybe season 3 is just going to be, maybe book 5 is going to be so big that it needs its own season rather than being split. But honestly, I feel like Heartstopper is such a good story, and they've done a lot more with the side characters in the show than what we've seen in the comic, that I feel like it could definitely extend past what we've seen already.
Fluff it up a little bit, I guess.
We could fluff it up. We could definitely fluff it up. But I'm really, really excited. Listen, we needed it.
One of the only things that I'm concerned about is that I've been seeing a lot of chatter about how Netflix has fired a lot. Like, one pretty much fired its like entire animation studio. And so a lot of projects are on the chopping block. Like, we were going to see Jeff Smith's Bone, but we're not going to see that now. I'm worried that we're not going to get to see Nimona. And then apparently they did hire, several months ago, they hired a whole bunch of people as like a diversity crew, maybe like a diversity readers, just to make sure that things aren't feeling exploitative. And apparently they fired a whole bunch of them. So I'm really hoping that people who were working on Heartstopper didn't get the axe, because everyone who worked on this, like they created a really cool show.
They did created a really great inclusive show. So give me a million seasons of Heartstopper and I'll be happy.
I have to say, I need another season of Our Flag Means Death.
And there it is.
I need another season of Our Flag Means Death. I need official merchandise, because I'm buying all the bootleg merchandise I can find. And listen, I need official merch, y'all.
She needs official merch. There was one trailer that came out this week that made a pretty huge splash, whatever we want to call it.
I'm gonna call it a stomp.
The stomp. Yeah. We finally got the long-awaited trailer for She-Hulk, and I've got some feelings. How do you feel about it?
I think not predictions, but my guesses. I didn't think that my first initial reaction whenever I saw the casting for She-Hulk, I was like, this lady doesn't look bulky enough for me.
She's too small.
She's too small.
Little baby bee.
That's okay. And I was like, you know what? Maybe they'll just CGI her up, right? Sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you. So maybe they'll just like buff her up with some CGI. And folks, they kind of did.
No, they didn't. Don't lie to the cast. Don't lie to everybody that's here.
Well, obviously they CGI'd the green stuff, but like, I'm really curious how a company like Disney and the Marvel Studios can give us someone like Gamora, and that looks great, but like She-Hulk as a big buff green lady.
So here's my problem with She-Hulk. So I'm tired of hearing everybody complain about the animation. Like, listen, at this point, Marvel's pumping out so much that their animation is going to suffer. You know, at this point, we just have to come to terms with that. We're now getting 4 projects a year versus 1 project every year. So obviously the animation is going to suffer quite a little bit. I think where I'm most upset about is it was actually leaked or revealed on Friday that somebody in the initial animation crew, they had bulked her up, and she was bulky the way that we see her in comics, the way that Chris Anka draws her, the way that, you know, we're used to seeing She-Hulk, big, muscly, could crush me between her thighs. And apparently it was told by Disney execs every single time they brought it to the table, make her smaller, make her more feminine, make her less muscly. And apparently that happened quite a bit, to the point where we now see this, I'm gonna call her Stick because she looks like a stick. She's just tall. And I don't understand how this can happen, because I know you don't play video games, Jen. But
I mean, listen.
2 years ago,
I play Skyrim.
Listen, 2 years ago, there was a little game that came out, and actually it was last year, a little game came out called Resident Evil 8. And in that, we got the biggest tall lady of them all.
Dimitrescu.
Exactly. So you know exactly what
things.
I'm talking about. Hear me out. The entire internet went absolutely feral over a big woman.
Yeah.
So obviously people want the big woman. I just want She-Hulk to crush me between her thighs. That being said,
yeah,
I want her to cradle me the way that she cradles that dude. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Why can't that be me?
I think that was the general reaction too, is that even though I'm not here for the like weird CGI like that, I'm totally getting Sonic human teeth vibes from this. But I don't want to be those people on the internet that like makes them go and redo everything. But I'm just like,
I was gonna say that I'm not here to be that. Well, I saw it on a TikTok. Somebody on TikTok was talking about how we bullied the Sonic studio to make Sonic look better. We now need to bully Disney to make She-Hulk look better. And listen, I don't condone bullying, because art is art. But knowing that She-Hulk was originally supposed to be thick as shit.
Thick as oatmeal. Thicker
than a bowl of oatmeal. Thank you. I kind of want to bully, because it's Disney I'm bullying, not a smaller studio. I'm bullying Disney.
Let's all get on. Do we get on Twitter?
I think we just need to bully the execs and be like, put her back the way she was.
Yeah, I agree. I want, I've said it from the beginning, like, I just want like big bulky She-Hulk. And C-List E-Man made a good point where it feels like this is Marvel's Sex and the City. I do think this is probably going to be the least PG movie, because she's talking about like, you know, Hulk
doing dudes.
I'm okay with that. But I think you're right. I think it's something that we haven't seen in any of the Marvel movies yet.
To be doing me.
Yeah. That's the fan fiction. That's the fan fiction that we're all writing on the side, right?
Like, am I gonna watch it? Yeah. Am I gonna complain about it most of the time? Probably. I don't know. It just makes me sad, because I feel like next to Moon Knight, okay, I can't say anything because I was really excited for Hawkeye too. But next to Moon Knight, I feel like this is the one I was most excited for. Mm-hmm. And for months and months and months, they never showed us what she looked like. And I feel like it's because they secretly knew they were going to get this backlash.
Maybe what they're doing is like the trailer was a test, and maybe they're just like working around the clock to go and fix
but then I don't want that for their employees, because listen, the animators don't deserve that. I'm not here to bully an animator. I'm here to bully an executive. Okay.
There we go. Let's get She-Hulk, Bulk Hulk. Yeah.
Bulk her up, baby. So that was it in terms of news, kind of. Before we jump into comics, the Eisner nominations came out this week.
Yeah, that's big. That's big news.
That's big news. And for those of you that are either new to the show or maybe are newer to comics, don't really know a whole lot, that's fine. We're here to teach you. The Eisners are essentially the Oscars of comics. And so they take all the comics from the previous year, they rank them together, and they categorize them. And now we have to vote. Well, we can't vote because apparently only professionals can vote. Listen. We've got 1,000+ followers. We've got merchandise. I feel like we're professional. Let me have a vote. So we've kind of got all the categories. Well, the big categories. We're gonna put them to a vote. We're gonna vote on our favorite nominees and compare them when the winners eventually come out. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Listen, I went a little old-fashioned, okay? I printed mine out and
out.
I printed them out and highlighted them. Listen, this year was hard, okay? So the Eisners for 2021 proved how good comics were last year because we had books like Layla Starr, books like Stray Dogs, Nightwing, which honestly I think Nightwing took home the most nominations out of anything. So we gotta jump into this. So first category we got here is the best single issue or one shot. And they have in parentheses must be able to stand alone. So we have Marvel Voices Identity Number 1, which was edited by Darren Chan. We have Mouse Guard, The Owlhen Caregiver, and Other Tales by Peter Davidson, which was published by Boom. Nightwing 87, Get Grayson by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. And for those of you that have forgotten, that was the one issue that was just one continuous page. We have Woven Daughter by Vare, which is Quindry Press. I haven't heard of that one, but I'm suddenly interested.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman Historia, The Amazons by Kelly Sue DeConnick and Phil Jimenez. What are you thinking?
I want Wonder Woman Historia to win. I think that one, I feel like Nightwing will win for that one, but I want Wonder Woman to win for that one. If either of them win, I'll be happy.
See, I was torn on that because that Nightwing issue, the fact that it was one long continuous page and story, and the fact that if you had bought multiple copies, ripped them all apart and put them on the ground, it was flawless and seamless. But like you said, Wonder Woman Historia, I was waiting for 4 years for that book to come out. It was gorgeous. That alone almost made it my book of the year. And it's a book that I will constantly go back and reread, even without 2 and 3. Wonder Woman Historia.
Because we only have 2. We don't have 3 yet.
We don't have 3. But we could have never gotten 2 or 3, and I still would have been happy.
So true.
So
that was
Wonder Woman Historia is definitely my pick. So our next category is Best Continuing Series. We have Bitterroot by David F. Walker, Chuck Brown, and Sanford Green, published by Image Comics. I'm going to be honest, I didn't realize that book was still going. I thought it ended with the last arc. The Department of Truth by James Tiny Onion and Martin Simmons, also Image. Immortal Hulk by Al Ewing, Joe Bennett, published by Marvel. I definitely thought that book ended in 2019.
Or 2020. It ended last year. Yeah.
Okay.
Or at least Al Ewing. Yeah.
I guess it technically counts.
So Al Ewing's run ended, and then Donny Cates took over for Immortal Hulk. Yep.
We have Nightwing by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo, and Something's Killing the Children by James Tinian IV and Werther Dell'Edera, published by Boom. Y'all already know it was my number 1 book of last year. If Nightwing does not take home this category, I'm gonna riot.
Listen, I am particular.
Break my heart. It's fine.
I am very particular. I actually really want Bitterroot to win because I think it's been nominated in this category for 4 times and hasn't won.
Really? I thought it won once.
Maybe it did. I don't know. I just y'all know that I am a really big fan of David F. Walker. I really love Bitterroot. I think that, like, you know, I love Nightwing. Like, we're going to talk about this week's issue in a little bit. Nightwing. But I really love Bitterroot. I love the supplementary material that it has. I really like it. So
okay, so if Nightwing loses, you're the person I'm going to ride against. It's fine.
Yeah. Yep.
Next up, we have Best Limited Series. I think this is the most interesting category, and I think also the most difficult category because there are so many books in this one. So for Best Limited Series, we have Beta Ray Bill, Argent Star by Daniel Warren Johnson. The Good Asian by Pornsak. Help me. Thank you. You're good at this. And Alexandre Tefengi. Hocus Pocus by Rick Worth and Jordan Culver. It almost looks like that's a webcomic. The Many Deaths of Layla Starr by Ram V and Felipe and Andrade. Okay, thank you. Stray Dogs by Tony Flex and Trish Forstner, published by Image Comics, and Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King and Bilquis Evely. Listen, these were some of the best comics of all last year. The fact that all of these comics are in one category is really, really frustrating. At this point, we're not going to ask Jen what her pick is because we already know what her pick is. So I'm going to pose a question to you. What do you think my pick is? I already have it highlighted, so I can't change my answer.
List them again.
Beta Ray Bill, The Good Asian, Hocus Pocus, Many Deaths of Layla Starr, Stray Dogs, and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
I'm going to say, I want to say Stray Dogs or Many Deaths of Layla Starr.
Listen, after reading it for book club, I have to give it to the Many Deaths of Layla Starr. Listen, that is my regret book of 2021 that I did not read that book issue to issue. That is my biggest regret. You were 100% right on that one. It's probably the best book we've gotten in the past 10 years.
And it makes me not like sad, but I really feel like reading that book single issue by single issue, like if you did not already heed my advice and pick up The Many Deaths of Layla Starr and also read it issue by issue, I would say if you are reading it in a collected version, please do yourself a favor, read an issue, take a pause, and really absorb it, because every single issue, from like the artwork to the story that's being told in each issue, because there needs to be a pace and a gap between each issue. You need to take a breath and you need to like absorb it, because that so
good. It was a good book. It was a good book. We could talk all day about Layla Starr. It's a very, very good book.
And I agree really quick with C-List E-Man. Supergirl was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It made me love a Tom King book, and Bilquis Evely's artwork, beautiful. But Many Deaths of Layla Starr. Yep.
100%. For Best New Series, we have The Human Target by Tom King and Greg Smallwood, published by DC Black Label. The Nice House on the Lake by James Tiny Onion. Listen, y'all can't stop me. Tiny Onion 4 and Alvaro Martinez Bueno by DC Black Label. Not All Robots by Mark Russell and Mike Deodato Jr. AWA Upshot. First of all, a huge commendation to AWA for getting, I think this is their first ever Eisner nomination.
Yeah.
And then we have Radiant Black by Kyle Higgins and Marcelo Costa, Image Comics, and Ultra Mega by James Herron, Image.
What's the title of this category?
Best New Series.
See, this is kind of tough because there's a couple of things on here that I thought that were limited series. Like I thought Human Target and like all of those, I thought those were limited series. For me, I think the two that I love the most were Not All Robots and Ultra Mega. I'm going to go Not All Robots on that one.
That was a hard one. I almost picked Not All Robots. I think at the end of the day, though, I think I have to give it to Nice House on the Lake, because that first issue alone, I read it over and over again, and it's one of those books where it keeps, every time I'm out, I'm back in. And it makes me think more. Listen, Nice House on the Lake might be my Hoxpox, okay? It might be my Hoxpox because there's so much to think about and so much to dissect that, you know, I love it so much. So that's my pick for Best New Series.
And, you know, I think out of James Tiny Onion has been nominated for a couple of things on this list, and I haven't picked him yet. So if he won for this one, I'd be okay, but I don't know. I love Not All Robots. I thought that was a good one. So
Not All Robots was very good. Best Writer. We already know who Jen's going to pick. Ed Brubaker for Destroy All Monsters, Friends of the Devil. Kelly Sue DeConnick for Wonder Woman Historia. Felipe Melo for Ballad of Sophie, which was published by Top Shelf. Ram V for The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, Swamp Thing, Carnage, Black and White, and Blood, and Venom. And James Tiny Onion for House of Slaughter. Listen, I'm not reading all of his. He's got like a stack this big. He published a lot this year. I think I'm going to give it to Ram V for Layla Starr alone, because and even so, I would say even Radio Apocalypse, you know, that I feel like he is the up and coming. What James Tiny Onion was 2 years ago, I think Ram V is becoming. I agree.
And just thinking about These Savage Shores, Blue and Green, what other one? Paradiso, Graffiti's Wall, and then this like absolute breakout year, if you can call it that, with doing like Justice League Dark, Swamp Thing, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr,
Catwoman.
Catwoman. Um, there is a part of me where I'm like, I would really love to see Kelly Sue DeConnick get it, but just having Wonder Woman Historia isn't enough.
Yeah.
If it was like maybe her backlog of work, like of course, Bitch Planet is one of my favorite things ever, but I need more, and I think Rom V really, 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 really deserves this.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think the man's already on the map, but I think with that Eisner went on his belt, I feel like that's going to just launch him even further. And if I'm being quite honest, I would not be surprised if right now he's being put onto Detective Comics. I would not be surprised if within the next year he is on the mainline Batman title.
Oh, 100%. And that would 100% get me reading like a main Batman title, but
So next we have Best Writer and Artist. So this is somebody who does, for those of you that might not be familiar, somebody who does both the writing and the artwork. So in this category, we have Alison Bettichel, The Secret to Superhuman Strength. Bettichel. I can't. I'm terrible listening. Why am I reading the list? I shouldn't be reading the list. I'm bad with names.
Because you printed it out.
I did because I printed it out. We have Junji Ito for Deserter, the Junji Ito collection, Love Sickness, everything. We all know who Junji Ito is. Danielle Warren Johnson for Superman Red and Blue and Beta Ray Bill. Will McPhail in a graphic novel. Oh, that's the name of your book? Oh, I'm terrible. I'm awful. Anyway, and Barry Windsor Smith for Monsters, which was published by Fantagraphics. This one was pretty hard. I haven't finished it yet. I really wanted to give this to Barry Windsor Smith just for the story behind Monsters alone. Yeah. But at the same time, Daniel Warren Johnson is a hell of a storyteller, both in his illustration and in his writing. So I'm going to cheat and I'm going to say give it a tie between the two of them.
I agree. And I don't want this to sound shitty, but it's going to sound shitty. Monsters was published this year, but it's taken how many decades to finish that?
Yeah.
And Daniel Warren Johnson did come through with
Beta Ray Bill, Wonder Woman Dead Earth. He was doing side stories left and right. Now he's doing the dinosaur book.
Yeah. So I think that it's I think that I do I wouldn't be surprised if Barry Windsor Smith won, just for like, I think that he's earned it and deserved it. Yeah. But I also think I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Warren Johnson won as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Next is Best Penciler, Inker, or Penciler Inker Team. We have Felipe Andrade for The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, Phil Jimenez for Wonder Woman Historia, Bruno Redondo for Nightwing, Isad Ribic for Eternals, and Craig Russell for Norse Mythology. Listen, I want to give it to Phil Jimenez because that book is Wonder Woman Historia. If you have not seen it, the designs in that book are absolutely insane. But
I lost reading that book in such a good way.
It's so great, but my brain says give it to Phil Jimenez for Wonder Woman Historia. My heart says give it to Bruno Redondo because Bruno Redondo looks like your average comic book artist. But when you look at the breakdown and the way that he presents action in his books, not just with Nightwing, but when he worked on Suicide Squad as well with Tom Taylor, I feel like he's going to redefine the way a lot of artists approach action. And that's not even considering, the one-page issue that we got. This is seeing Nightwing leap off of a building and hopping to the ground, but we can see in the background in one page, he jumps off of this railing, he lands on this balcony, and then he finally hits the ground. And I don't know, he's taken modern comics and modern storytelling to another level for me.
I agree. That one's a tough one. And thinking, and I don't want it to necessarily be quantity over quality, but like we see Phil Jimenez and it's like this one book, but we see Bruno Redondo do it again and again and again. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they take that into consideration. I would really, if it was me judging this.
Can we make it another tie?
Yeah, can we make it another tie, or can we be like, okay, you get this one and this is the other one that the other person gets? Like maybe best penciler is what Bruno Redondo can get, but then Wonder Woman Historia can win best single issue.
Yeah. We gotta find some leeway there. We have best cover artist. So best cover artist, we have Jen Bartel, David Mack, Bruno Redondo again, Alex Ross, Julian Totino Tedesco, and Yoshitani. I feel like I've never talked about it on the show before. I am obsessed with Julian Totino Toscato and his covers.
What have they
Like
done?
his covers on Action Comics right now
Okay.
are some of the best covers I have ever seen, and honestly define the Superman character. He's done amazing covers for Red Sonja. I know we don't talk about Dynamite a lot, but I feel like that's really where I fell in love with him, was his cover work on Red Sonja. I see y'all in the bottom for Jen Bartel. All right, Jen Bartel is great, but I feel like she's starting to get a little formulaic.
Yeah.
Kind of Jenny Frisian is now, where they ride off of name alone.
Ooh.
Whereas I feel like Julian Totano Tedesco, every cover he does tells a story.
Wow.
So, I don't know. That's my vote.
My vote, I feel like, I don't know. I wanted it because David Mack was on that list.
You always want to vote David Mack.
I do, but I feel like David Mack, to your point about Jen Bartel, has gotten not necessarily formulaic, but yeah.
So, C-List Demon points out John Boy Myers and Jenny Frisian are definitely lacking. I agree. I feel like Jenny Frisian at some point should be nominated for an Eisner. Mm-hmm. In terms of Rose Besh, I feel like Rose Besh didn't really pop up onto the scene until 2022, along with Sozamaka. I would not be surprised if we saw two of those ladies being nominated for next year's Eisners.
Okay.
So, we only have two categories left that we'll talk about. This next one is for best coloring. So for best coloring, we have Felipe Andrade and Ines Amaro for The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, Terry Dodson for Adventure Man, Katie O'Neill for The T-Dragon Tapestry, Jacob Phillips for Destroy All Monsters and Friend of the Devil, and Matt Wilson for Everything.
I'm going to go Felipe Andrade.
That's what I was going to say, because that book is so gorgeous.
Yeah.
From its coloring to its lettering to everything in between, it's a gorgeous book. Listen, just read Many Deaths of Layla Starr already. Listen, Jen's been telling you for a year, I'm now telling you, please read Many Deaths of Layla Starr.
Carrie, I think Peach Momoko got a nomination or a win last year.
She did get a win last year.
Yeah. So even though I do understand that it's lacking because she had a ton more covers this year than she did last year.
Peach Momoko should just get an award for how many covers they put out. That's it. They should just get an award for that. The last category we have, and I feel like this isn't something we talk about a lot on the show, and I feel like we need to start getting better at it. But we have the category for best lettering. So we have Wes Abbott, who did Future State, Nightwing, Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman Black and Gold. Clayton Cowles for the Amazon, Batman, Catwoman, Wonder Woman Historia, Daredevil. There's a list of things here. Crank for Joanna the Impossible Monsters and the T-Dragon Tapestry. Ed Dukeshire for Once and Future and Seven Secrets. And Barry Windsor Smith for Monsters. I don't know. I have Clayton Cowles. Listen, I went and highlighted all of my Eisner wins.
Yeah, I would say Clayton Cowles. Yeah.
I'm saying Clayton Cowles, A, because of how much they do, but B, thinking about Wonder Woman, just thinking about Wonder Woman Historia and everything that was done in that book, down to the lettering. I think that deserves it right there. So
I agree.
That is our Eisner nominees. We probably won't see the announcement until usually about June, July, whenever San Diego Comic-Con is.
Yeah, they get announced at SDCC.
So we're gonna come back again in 2 months to kind of wrap up the winners and see where our picks stand. I would not be surprised if we see the two big winners being Many Deaths of Layla Starr and Nightwing for the Eisners.
I think that Wonder Woman Historia will also pick up. I don't know I think that it'll pick up at least one.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. It would be very shocking if it didn't pick up anything.
Listen,
But like
though,
I said, it's a very, very rough category, or very rough pool this year, because it felt like everything was so good. So.
If Rom V does not win Writer of the Year, I will riot. I will riot for sure. I will be there at SDCC. I will hop on a plane. I'm gonna yell.
Did you see where Rom V is this weekend?
At MegaCon in Florida. And I'm like, man, like, listen, I know that there's probably family, friends, coworkers who live back in Florida, and I'm sorry to say I don't miss Florida, but I would go to Florida to see Rom V, for sure.
How big of a stack would you take them? Like
I would bring like most of my swamp things. I'd bring some of my Catwoman, but definitely like a stack of all of my issues of The Many Deaths of Layla Starr.
All the variants, all the second printings.
Yeah, done.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
But that's it for, oh my God, an hour in, and we haven't even started talking about comics yet. This is insane.
Well, chat, you know what we do? We try to do it like kind of like publisher by publisher. So we've got Marvel, we've got DC, we've got Indie. What do you want us to do?
Feels like it's a pretty rounded week again this week. Last week we saw it was pretty even throughout. This week it feels like it's pretty even-ish.
I've got DC. I've got Marvel.
Yeah, pretty even-ish. So let us know what you want to see from us first.
Indie.
Yeah.
I do really quick, you know, while people are in the chat, you've got to comment and you've got to tell us what you want us to see. I'm going to go ahead and just pull up something that I bought. Really quick, I'm going to do a little show off. I bought this.
A little show and tell.
A little show and tell. I bought this book like a year ago, and it's an homage variant cover. I bought this a year ago. Apparently, like, the artwork had to get approved. They had to print it. They had to send it to CGC. Well, it finally arrived on my doorstep this week, and I got Department of Truth number 11, this House of Secrets 92 homage variant. So I, and you know, 9.8. So I finally got it in the mail after about a year of waiting for this. So,
I don't even mess with that series, but that cover is absolutely gorgeous.
It really is. I saw it and I'm like, I need that. I need that a lot. I think that there was one that was done by The Plot. Did one?
Mm-hmm. The Plot did
and
do one.
I have that one, but I don't have it CGC.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to show that off.
All right, so I think we're being told to do DC first and save Indie for last.
Excellent. So we'll do DC, Marvel, Indie.
DC. Well, you know what? Since he seems to be the man of the hour, we might as well just talk about Nightwing number 92. I feel like I'm like trying to talk about the man of the hour, even though I don't have much to say about this book just because it's continuously. Oh my God, I wish I had that cover. I'm so jealous. Oh my God, my shop didn't have it, and I pre-ordered it, and they didn't get it for me, and I'm very sad.
It's for the puppy. I got it for Bitewing.
Of course you did. Listen. I'm really excited that DC is finally leaning all the way into these thirst trap Dick Grayson covers, because for solicitations, they are doing a swimsuit edition for the month of April, and we are getting a Nicola Scott Dick Grayson. And then we got the Babs Tarr, shirtless Dick Grayson, and now we've gotten that one. And I'm like, listen, thank you for finally answering your fans and what we need. So, Nightwing 92, this is the start of a new arc. It kind of just, I don't know what to say other than I like the book. I really like how into the family it gets. We get to see some really great interactions between Bruce, Barbara, and Dick as they kind of reminisce and honor Alfred, which I'm going to be honest with y'all, I'm surprised he has not come back to life yet, because it has been more than a year and he is still dead. And that is very uncomic-like. So at this point, I'm like, is Alfred going to just stay dead for a while? I don't know.
I was kind of confused when I saw this. So in this book, if you've been reading Nightwing, or if you've been hearing us talk about it, you know that Nightwing, he inherited a whole bunch of money after Alfred, passed away. So he inherited a whole bunch of money, and he's like, well, how do I like honor his legacy? How do I like really make things right for Bloodhaven? And he's like, I'm going to go ahead and make it a great community and blah, blah, blah. So they do that, and they end up putting up this like big ass statue of Alfred. And I'm like, is that really what Alfred would have wanted? Like Alfred was like always in like, I don't know, the shadows. So I just thought that was funny. But there's a moment early on in this book because it goes into the past, and there's this really great moment between Alfred and Batman where like Alfred is literally like, bitch, I will fight you. Like, I know you're Batman, but like fucking come for me, dude. I will poison your goddamn tea. I don't know. Like
it's great. And to kind of bounce off of that, because I wanted to talk about this, we get a entire section dedicated to a moment in the past. It's about 4 or 5 pages or so. And I really like what Bruno Redondo does to signify that we are in the past, because he does this really cool halftone, very like nostalgia comics type vibe. And I really like that as a very subtle way to just signify, hey, this is the past. Now we're in the present. I wish more comics would do that. I really, really like that. I don't know. I like seeing Superman show up.
Yeah.
I feel like any other way I'd be like bitching about it. Like, oh, why is Superman showing up in my Nightwing comic? Or why is Nightwing showing up in my Superman comic? But I really I said it last week when we talked about Superman Son of Kal-El. I love the relationship that has bloomed between these two characters. So Nightwing number 92, again, started the new arc. We finally get to see the return of Heartless, because the first arc was all about Heartless. Then he kind of went away, and I was like, have we forgotten all about this new character that we've introduced? But he's back, and I'm really excited to see where the rest of this book goes.
Yeah. It's always just a solid book. So I'd recommend, if you're like, oh, I really like Nightwing, but I don't know where to get started, you could probably pick this one up and just get started with it.
You really could, 100%. What other DC books did you read? Because I have 2 others.
Another book that I have that I don't know if you got, I actually didn't read a lot. Hold on. Because I got a couple variant covers, and so there's 2 books here that I got a variant cover for, but that I didn't read.
But so that you didn't read.
So I'm going to show those off really quick, and I'm kind of sad that I didn't read them. But anyways, I got Shadow Warzone number 1. I've got these 2.
Cool. So I did read that book. So let's talk about it. I read that book because I was like, oh, it's a number 1. I need to round out my stack.
This is like on the bottom. I was like,
this book is, so you're going to be surprised. So this book is a lie. This book seems like your basic generic Batman tale. And I thought it was going to be the start of an event. However, it's actually an anthology series with some really great creative teams and some really great stories. So the first story is about Black Canary, artwork by Otto Schmidt. There's a female character introduced that I'm like, I really like you. You're really nice.
Oh,
she's really cute. You see who I'm talking about? She's really cute.
Yeah.
And I really like that. Also, this is my PSA that, we got an entire Deathstroke Inc. book with Black Canary and Deathstroke, and they did not fuck. And I wish that they would fuck, because listen,
that's gonna be
I want them to do it. I also really like this little story because, at this point, I guess Deathstroke has killed Ra's al Ghul. Spoiler alert, Deathstroke has killed Ra's al Ghul. A lot of this book is like repercussions of that. And for the first time in many years, it's brought back up that Black Canary and Ra's al Ghul had a relationship. Fun fact, they boinked. It's very weird. And sometimes I try to forget about that, but they boinked. And I wish that we got to see more of that. Well, then our second story has incredible artwork by Sweetie Boo, and it's actually a Talia al Ghul story, and kind of goes into her young self and the fact that she's a part of this long lineage, but she knows nothing about herself. She knows nothing about her family, nothing about the Lazarus Pit. And I thought that was really great. There's a third story, or I don't know if it's the third or the fourth story. That one was kind of I kind of skipped over that one. But then there's a Harley Quinn story in here by Stephanie Phillips. And it's like, I feel like this book should have been marketed better.
It 100% should have, because I was like, oh, this is, like you said, going to be an event. It's going to be like the Joker War or whatever they did, or the Fear State event. Like, that's honestly what I thought it was going to be. So this, needed to do better, even though I did go ahead and pick up 2. I didn't read it.
But yeah, it was actually a surprisingly fun little it was a surprisingly fun little anthology series. So I was definitely shocked by that. Did you read any other DC books? Because now I only have one left.
Yeah, the other book that I have that I didn't read, I'll just go ahead and say, I did pick up Duo. I did pick up the 2 covers. Haven't finished it yet, but I really want to get into this one because I've been digging a lot of the Milestone comics. Even though like I only have a very vague familiarity with them. I did buy another book, and that was Fables. Didn't read it yet, so don't know. But the one last book, I think it's going to be the same for us, Catwoman.
Catwoman. So you did read it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I am shocked more people are not talking about this particular issue for one of 2 reasons, and we'll get into that. So this is Catwoman number 43. It's done by Tini Howard with artwork by Bengal and colors by Jordi Belair. This is the start of a new arc, and you can actually pick this one up without reading any of it. They do a really, really great job right off the bat at telling us everything that happened. And it's just this fun little Harley Quinn Catwoman team up book. Like, I honestly didn't think that I needed something like that, but it makes me really, really excited. We kind of get to lean more into the queerness of both of these characters.
Oh my goodness! So there's a moment
Where they spoon?
where they spoon, and Harley's like, "I need to be Little Spoon," and it's absolutely adorable and heartwarming. And
But then I also like in that same scene where they say,
they're both thinking about other
both
people.
of our hearts are elsewhere, meaning that if each other did not have somebody, they would have boinked.
They probably would have spooked a little bit.
Here's my pitch to you. We have not had a Gotham City Sirens book in quite some time. Now that all of these women have been confirmed queer, because at this point all 3 of them are queer, can I just get a really fun girl gang queer leaning book for Gotham City Sirens? Because I think it would be really great. Also, yes, we were going to talk about that and you jumped right into it.
Sorry, I saw Carrie's comment. Sorry, spoiler alert.
That is the reason why I'm actually surprised there has been no talk about this book. I feel like, listen, we ain't a spec channel, but if a spec's there, I'm going to spec it. How is this book not blowing up right now? Because as you showed, we get the first appearance of Red Claw, which is a original character from the Batman animated series, making her debut for the first time in 20-something years in a comic book. The fact that people aren't even talking about this as a first appearance is absolutely batshit. And again, not here to spec, but if I were you, I would pick up this one because I've got a feeling it's going to go somewhere at some point.
And someone correct me if I'm wrong. Red Claw is a trans character?
That I don't know.
I'm looking it up right now. But that
I don't know. Listen, I haven't watched Batman the Animated Series since I was young, and listen, my baby brain would not make that deduction. My baby brain was just like, she's really, really cool, and I love her, and I don't know if I want to be her or be with her.
Maybe not.
It would be cool, though.
Yeah. Someone who knows more about DC than me, because I really don't know a lot. I think that I just ended up like seeing something, and maybe I'm getting her confused with another character. But anyways.
But yeah, I really like this arc. Listen, I'm not a fan of Tini Howard, but her Catwoman run has been really, really great. And listen, I've been picking up Catwoman since the beginning. I have all the issues all the way up till 43, including most of the variants. But I stopped reading around issue 12, and I was like, I'll eventually get into it. I didn't even read the Round V stuff, okay? The fact that I am now reading Catwoman religiously and enjoying it says something. So Catwoman 43 in particular, I think is great for mainstream fans that just like the Harley Quinn and Catwoman character, because again, it is just a fun little girl gang adventure book.
And this one too. So Rom V was writing Catwoman, and then Tini Howard picked up several months ago. And then it felt like it continued the like dark and grittiness of it. But then this one is just, it's fun. This one is so fun. So seriously, like, pick it up for the spec, hold on to it for a couple years and have it blow up or send it to CGC, whatever you want to do. But please, please, please read this because it was a lot of fun. And yeah.
So much fun. Really enjoyed it.
So that's all that I have for DC. Where did we say we were going to go next?
I think we're going to jump right on over to Marvel next.
Excellent. There was a big book that came out this week. I don't know if you got a chance to read it. But you told me that you read 2 X-Men books.
I did read 2 X-Men books.
What 2? I'm trying to figure out what it was because I know the 2 X-Men books that I read.
Well, let's talk about the one that I think we both read together. And that is a little book called Immortal X-Men that I'm a little disappointed about. Because listen, I was here for Selene. I wanted to see Selene burn things to the ground. And then they went and they killed Selene. And then they resurrected her. Listen, if this character is so bad, why did you resurrect her? This is why Krakoa doesn't make any sense. Because now the bad guys are the good guys. And they resurrect people willy-nilly. I just want to see Selene burn things to the ground. That's all I want.
This book was definitely really big on Hope Summers coming through. I feel like there's so much going on. Like, I don't know if I need a reread of, like, X-Men, but I feel like even after Hickman leaving, there's just so much going on.
That's because we're still in the Hickman era of X-Men.
We're not in the Hickman era of X-Men because Hickman left. He cannot hurt you anymore.
Then why do I still have info dumps in my comics?
Because it's fucking Kieran Gillen is why.
Yeah, but there's info dumps in all of the X comics now.
That's true. There are info dumps in all of them, but I will 100% blame just all the fucking dialogue on Kieran Gillen and having an idea but not going anywhere.
Yeah, there was a lot of dialogue. This book definitely needed more Selene burning things to the ground. Needed more Destiny and Mystique being gay because you got little glimpses of it. And then I guess is Destiny dying? Like, did we finally get our queer couple back? And then you're just gonna kill her in the span of what has it been? 3 months, 4 months?
Yeah. We got Inferno, didn't get what we wanted. I just need these 2 ladies to, be gay together.
They should join Selene. Burn everything to the ground. It'll be fine.
I'm not necessarily not impressed with Immortal X-Men, but the other book that I'm reading, and so in Immortal X-Men, Magneto leaves the Quiet Council and goes up to Mars, and we're seeing him and Storm kind of take over an X-Men Red. So I'm surprised that you're not reading this one because it's really good. But what's the other book that you're reading?
The other book that I read, surprisingly enough, and Stapled Spine has landed it completely. I read New Mutants number 25 this morning.
Wow. You don't read New Mutants, so why?
No, I don't. But when Madeline Pryor shows up and her and Magic are at the forefront and I see some very gay-looking panels,
yeah,
I have to read it. So
I'm surprised I'm not reading New Mutants. And
I'm surprised you are too.
Yeah. I was for a while and then just dropped it. So
New Mutants number 25. I don't know if this is the start of an arc. It feels like the start of an arc, but either way, I feel like you can pick it up without really not having read the rest of New Mutants because I was able to understand it just fine. Oh. So apparently there's something going on where Magic. What?
There's a next title for everyone.
There's a next title for everyone. But apparently at this point in time, Magic no longer wants to take over Limbo, no longer wants the Realm of Hell, has decided to make Madeline Pryor the Queen of Hell, much to the behest of Danny Moonstar. And so it's basically them knighting Madeline Pryor as the Queen of Hell. And I don't know. I really like it. I really like the artwork. It's a little gay. I wish Madeline Pryor and Magic would do the do, and then ask me to join them in doing the do because they're very cute and I would like to be friends with both of them. In this issue, though, Magic loses the Soul Sword, and that's kind of how the book ends, is with Magic losing the Soul Sword, and so therefore she loses control of Limbo. So I'm really curious to see what's going to go on next. But the artwork in this book is really gorgeous. And I really like in this book, we see our normal story take place where Magic, is trying to help Madeline Pryor take over Limbo. But then we'll get one-page splash pages where it almost looks like a storybook. And it's basically telling us the same story, but from a storybook perspective. And for
Oh.
somebody like me who has goldfish brain, it helps to kind of dumb down the story a little bit to the point where I can understand it. So I really like this book. I thought it was cute. It's just gals being gals.
Wow, maybe you need a New Mutants read.
So yeah, I do. I think I do.
What other Marvel books do you have?
Other Marvel books that I have. Did you have a chance to read Savage Avengers #1?
I did.
It was okay.
It was a lot going on.
It was a lot going on.
This was the book of the week. I feel
It's already
like
gone to second printing.
Yep, which is good because like it's sold out of a lot of shops. There's a lot of characters in here. So like it kind of like jumps from character to character, but I'm so excited to see Cloak and Dagger return. And we've got Dagger with like her cute little side cut. Like I feel like I
feel
have
it. You feel seen.
I do. So I'm really excited for this, even though like I hate, like, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect with this book. I knew I was going to like it. I could have easily hated it, but I didn't.
I like the concept. So this is another one of those books where Savage Avengers was long running. They ended it, took a month break, and decided let's relaunch with #1 and a new team on Savage Avengers. Which
Posey people,
well,
I don't know.
It's not even just a new creative team, but it's a new lineup as well. So in that lineup, we have Conan the Barbarian, which is still weird to me, and we'll get to that. Conan the Barbarian, Cloak and Dagger, Elektra as Daredevil. Who else am I missing? Weapon H, which I don't know who the hell that is, but okay. And we have Black Knight. And I think that the one thing this book does a really good job of is taking a lot of these lesser known characters and kind of catching new readers up to speed on who they are, what they can do without it being overwhelming. It looks overwhelming, but when you break it down, it's very nice kind of info dump for, quick, bam, here's these characters, here's what they do. The most interesting thing I think about Savage Avengers, because I do like the idea of Savage Avengers kind of being like an alternative to the Thunderbolts, where the more rock'em sock'em, punch you in the face type characters, but they're not necessarily bad.
Yeah.
But I think this book really is just setting up, because there's been a lot of announcements recently that Marvel is losing the license to Conan. And it feels like this book is here specifically to give us an explanation of why and how Conan is being written out of the Marvel universe. Because
that makes sense.
The way that this book ends is it's all of these characters traveling over to, pronounce it, Hikirana, which is where Conan the Barbarian lives. And I feel like we're going to see it where at the end of this arc, Conan's going to be stuck here. He's not going to return back to Marvel 616. And, we're going to go from there. So
do you think he's going to die? Do you think that they'll like him? Or do you think that it'll just...
I don't think he's going to die. I think it's going to be a matter of he's staying in the universe and being written out of Marvel continuity because they're losing that license.
Yeah, I'm kind of okay with that because I think that's a good way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's smart.
Now, that being said, let's bring Red Sonja into the universe. Let's rescue Red Sonja. Let's get her from Dynamite and let's bring her in. Listen, Marvel has already had hands on Red Sonja before. We can do it again. So that was that book. The only other Marvel book that I have, did you get a chance to read Spider-Punk #2?
No, I did not like Spider-Punk 1 enough.
But hear me out. What if I told you?
Okay, I'll go and get it.
Hear me out. What if I told you we get badass Kamala Khan with brass knuckles? I don't know.
That's like a good combination, especially when she like embiggens with those.
Exactly, and that's how she's introduced. I'm really stumped. I mean, you've told us before why you're not a fan of this book. But I'm really stumped as to why you don't like this book, because it feels like it's your vibe, and I have so much fun with this. Like, look at them. They're in a little van. They're going on a road trip. We've got really fun punk references. I like this book a lot. My little punk baby self likes this book a lot.
I'm kind of sad that I'm not picking it up because it sounds like you really like it, but maybe I'll go back and I'll pick up issue 2 and I'll try to reread issue 1. I just I don't know. I didn't vibe with it. I'm sorry.
I really like it. That Crimson Skull Misfit Swipe character on the cover. This is the punk version of Taskmaster. So that's, I think, the other thing. I think that's the other thing I really like about this issue or this comic is it's kind of like Dark Knights of Steel, where I get to see all of these different characters reinvented into different punk versions of themselves. Like next month, we get I'm assuming the punk version of Daredevil.
Okay.
And I'm just, listen, it's my jam. I love stuff like this, okay? It's my jam. It's my jam.
Okay. I'll pick up issue number 2 of Spider-Punk for you.
It's a good book.
Well,
if you're not doing it for me, do it for Niall.
Okay. For Niall.
For Niall.
I know that he picked up The Many Deaths of Layla Starr and Swamp Thing. When
he's read more of Hoxpox than I have. So
okay, there you go. So that's
there
fair.
it is.
Well, I got a couple other books that I didn't read. I didn't read Excellent number 3, and I haven't finished Dr. Afra yet. But the 2 other books that I got, Marvel Voices Identity, I did pick this one up. I feel like the way that they were doing anthologies like the Women of Marvel, didn't like it. When they're doing Marvel Voices Identity, I'm actually really, really enjoying it. This one is for Asian American Pacific Islander. And there's some really good stories in here, but there's one that I really, really enjoyed with Miss Marvel. There's some really cute moments in here that I really liked. That one was my favorite. I'm trying to pull up this specific. I really love these moments. Really liked that one. And then Pornzik Pichashoti did do one in here as well. That was the first one. Liked it. So yeah. And then the other one, I'm surprised you didn't pick this one up. Elektra, Black, White, and Blood.
I don't know how I feel about those anthology series anymore. They make me sad.
They were all really good, but the third one in this one was really, really good. It's called Rendezvous, and it was basically like a poem. Like Elektra's I have a rendezvous with death, and that's kind of like the line that gets repeated throughout it. So I felt like it was really easy. It was really simple for the story. So I really, really enjoyed that one. The second story in here is done by Peach Momoko, and I also really liked that one. So this one's probably been my favorite, Elektra, Black, White, and Blood.
You gotta go out and get it, especially because that cover is gorgeous. So
yeah. And then the first story, hold on. The third one, The Rendezvous, is actually done by Kevin Eastman from Turtles.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So really like that one. And that's it for Marvel, unless there's something else you had.
No, I think that's it. That's all I have for. Yep. Listen, y'all. I've got so many books now. I gotta keep a spreadsheet. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Alrighty. So next up with indies, there was one book that came out, and I think that Promiscuous Time Traveler will probably burn the place down if we don't talk about this one first. And it's kind of tough because this is issue 5. Are you ready to talk about this one?
Yeah.
This is issue 5 of probably my favorite series this year. We got this cute Evangelion cover here.
Listen, how did the creative team know that I was obsessed with Evangelion last year? I feel like that cover, I feel like this entire issue was catered to me. Okay, listen, I'm so obsessed with this book, and I'm so sad that it's ending.
So this was the last issue, and in the same way that, remember I don't know if you read Homesick Pilots, but the first issue and the first arc, the first issue specifically gave us one vibes, and then I feel like it did something completely different. This issue in particular did that to me, where it was I knew what it was about, but then this gave such a heartwarming, heartbreaking conclusion. Yeah. I love this book. I love this book. I love this book. Wyatt Kennedy goes to my shop. He's local, signed it. So I'm very thankful for that. So I'll try to get you this one signed.
Yes, 100%.
if there's some left at Books with Pictures. This book was very emotional for a lot of reasons. And do you want to go ahead and talk about maybe why?
All right. So I'm going to try to do this without breaking down. All right. So I said at the beginning of the show, I was having a rough week, and that's okay. Because it's always okay to not be okay. And this book started off as not a fun little time multiversal travel book, but it was a fun little multiversal travel book that was really about finding true love. You know,
Heartbreak.
and we see heartbreak, and we see our main character. We see our main character Devin jump through all of these universes in the hopes of finding their one true love, and they think that it's the individual that they were dating previously, and they spend all of their focus on that until they shift their focus and they find a new lover, until their shift kind of focuses off of that, and they decide, no, I need to keep going and see if I can get back to where I was. And with issue 4, we really saw that the main focus of the story was of her previous partner. I believe it's Amina, right? Mm-hmm. Where issue 5, and we were left with this whole, you know, how is issue 5 going to end? Because we've completely taken focus off of our main character. We have all of these unanswered questions. Yes, it's an oversized issue, but how is this book going to end? And issue 5 ends on an act of self-love and self-worth. And reminders that at the end of everything, you're going to be okay. And as somebody who was struggling this morning, to the point where I almost canceled our show today, reading Bolero, I knew I had to talk about it because it was a reminder to keep going.
I agree. There were moments where I was like, I don't know if I can do the show today. Like, I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm like, the reason why I'm here, of course I want to talk comics, but like I was like, we needed to talk
about Bolero. And there's a scene at the end. There's two big moments I kind of want to talk about. There's a scene at the end. So issue 5 is kind of like the Devin that we know kind of becomes this cosmic, ethereal, Evangelion-esque creature, and meets with a former younger self and basically reassures her, I've been hopping all of this time trying to find the person that will love me, when at the end of the day, I really just needed to love myself. And at this point, she's speaking with her former self, and her former self makes the line of, but what if I get hurt or I don't get better? And her cosmic self says, you will, and you will be okay. So stop hurting yourself because you are okay. And you are okay is bolded. And then we get a lot of, because the relationship with Devin and her mother and her father is kind of touched upon in issues 1 and 2, but never really spoken upon. And I kind of discussed this with Jen this morning, where there are times when you're reading a book and you can see that there's a deeper meaning to it, but sometimes your mind will create the deeper meaning that you want it to. And for me,
your interpretation
of it, and maybe what you need at that time. And during issue 5, my interpretation of it was Devin doesn't have a great relationship with her mom. We don't see it, but it is implied very heavily that maybe there was some abuse, maybe emotional and physical, that she's always looking for that self-worth, love, and apologies from her mother, but is not going to get it even on her mother's deathbed. And I'm like, all right. Somebody just kind of hopped into my mind and took exactly how I feel. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, this is my interpretation. Until you get to the final page of Bolero, in which the first line reads, most of our trauma comes from our parents. And I think it was that actualization right there that, okay, my interpretation is exactly the interpretation I'm supposed to be taking from it. Of what it is. So this book started as one thing and evolved into another. And I don't know, the entire creative team, you know, Luana, Wyatt, you guys have honest, because I know you guys listen to this, and I think that's what made me nervous about doing this morning. And I said it to Jen backstage, was like, I'm gonna cry on camera talking about Bolero, and Wyatt Kennedy's gonna be sitting in there seeing me cry over their book.
Sorry.
It's fine.
We're in the club. We're crying in the club today.
Crying in the club today. But you guys have honestly created something so special, and I thank you for giving me a story and the confidence that I really, really needed right now. Which I think is ironic because Wyatt Kennedy tweeted something very similar yesterday when he was talking with, or when they were talking with our friends over at with podcast. So, you know, it's fantastic. And we're also really, really excited for Lovesick, which is the newest comic coming from the artist from Luana. Yeah. So that's coming in August. So definitely, if there's one book, listen, is this my Layla Star?
This is your Layla Star.
Is this our Layla Star? I feel like this is our Layla Star.
100% agree. And like,
I don't think there's going to be a book to top it. I really don't.
It's going to be really, really tough to do that. It makes me, I know I say this like every week, but it makes me so sad that this book isn't talked about more. I'm glad that like people are picking it up, but I feel like I wish more people were picking it up single issue by single issue. This last issue hit like a train in some ways.
Like a train, hit like a truck, hit like a bus. Yeah. I was procrastinating this. You know, this book came out on Wednesday. I was really excited to read it. I've had this book for over a week because we're on the Image press list. So we had it a week before, and it's like, I don't want to read it. Don't want to read it. I don't want to read it. And I think somewhere in the back of my head, I think my mind preemptively knew I was going to need this book today rather than a couple days ago. So yeah, this is that one. If y'all want to pick up one book that we talk about, this is it.
Yeah, 100%. Please pick up Bolero. I know I've been saying it, but the issues like 1 through 4, it's not necessarily that they weren't emotional, but it seems like they were a really fun ride. We get like sci-fi fantasy type stuff, but then this one really, really hit in that emotional way. The ending was perfect and beautiful and everything that I needed it to be.
Yeah, because it's one of those books where it's like, how is it going to end? And then this is how it ends. And it's like, you never think about, that, you know, you never consider that the possibility, but it really was the perfect ending. So, that was book of the week, book of the month, book of the year.
100%.
Book of the century.
I don't want to say so far, but yeah.
Listen, give me a goddamn.
I don't have any Image books.
You don't have any more indie books. Okay, I do. Should we go completely off the deep end and go from one end of the spectrum to another in terms of books that came out?
Let's do it. Oh man, you know, I hate that I went to Bolero first, and then I know the book that you want to talk about next, and it just I just want to say I don't want to give it nearly as much space as I gave Bolero, but I just want to say Rain ended. I hated it the whole time, except for the artwork. I really love the artwork.
Rain is terrible. Listen, y'all are hyping up Rain on the internet, on comic book community Instagram, comic book community Twitter. Everybody's talking about goddamn Rain, but nobody's talking about Bolero. I need y'all to flip your switch. Talk about Bolero. Stop talking about Rain. Let me trash Rain, and then let's never talk about it again. So I've gone on to say that Rain is probably the most hurtful series media to queer culture and queer identity that I have seen in a long while. And it makes me sad because it is written by David Booher, who is a queer icon and gave us queer books like Killer Queens, which is a queer legacy at this point. So the fact that he's jumping on to do something like Rain hurts me physically. And I'm not going to recap all 4 issues because it's ridiculous. However, I am going to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the Deus Ex Machina ending of Rain. So if you don't want to be spoiled, plug your ears because I'm about to let loose. The entire time Rain is going on, you know, there was subtle hints. Oh, it's an act of terrorism. Oh, it's this. Things were conflicting. Sometimes there was a cult. Sometimes we had electricity. Sometimes we didn't. Sometimes the world knew what was going on. Sometimes they had no idea. Well, in the finale of Rain, it is revealed in about the last couple pages that Templeton's mother, who is the little boy that has been in and out of this series, because I'm going to say in and out, because sometimes he shows up when he wants to. He is in himself a deus ex machina. He shows up when it's convenient for him, this little child. It is basically revealed that the mother of this young boy created this, it's not even a virus, but created this virus, for lack of a better word, that would kill millions of people, all because her husband, I guess, worked himself to death creating this thing for the government, and he didn't get proper payment.
Which, like, I appreciate that from, like, a standpoint, but
there was no lead up to this. There was no hint to this. It came out of nowhere. It makes me, because if you don't know, Rain is an adaptation of a novella from Joe Hill. It kind of makes me wonder how this is approached in the novella. Because, again, this came out of complete nowhere. And I was joking with my partner that Rain could not get any worse than it has already, and yet it managed to do so. And I just, again, I've said it every month, I'm not here to criticize what people like and do not like. But I am legitimately concerned and confused over the people that say this is the best book they've ever read, the best thing Image Comics has done in years, especially when it sits next to a book like Bolero and has come out at the same, these books come out the same week. So these are side-by-side comparisons, literally.
And thank God they did, because if I had only read Rain, I'd probably stop buying Image, but like Bolero saved it for me.
It really did. Carrie asks, is it called the same title by Joe Hill? It is called the same title. However, this novella is in a larger book. I can't think of what it's called, but I'll let you know and I'll DM you on Twitter. It's in a book of other short stories, but it is called Rain. So I don't know. I kept telling myself I was going to hate read that as well and kind of compare the two. But at this point, I don't know if I have it in me. I'm so glad that this series is done, because if this issue had gone on or if this series had gone on one more issue, I think it might have killed me.
Yeah. This was not, and I don't want to say the storytelling wasn't good. I think the thing that hurt me the most was just to see like queer characters just hurt, and we could have had such a beautiful story. And it just, I don't know.
Queer trauma for the sake of queer trauma is not fun. And it's like you said, it's not the storytelling, because at the end of the day, David Booher and Zoe Thorogood, who, by the way, her artwork is magnificent. I can't wait to see her on more things. David Booher and Zoe Thorogood were there to adapt a story that was already created. Yeah. The mastermind of this evil and the person we should be targeting is Joe Hill. So, Joe Hill, if you're around, let's chat, because I have some questions.
Yeah. And it feels like it's like I'm going to make sure that queer creators are doing the adaptation of this so I can justify the pain that this goes through. And I think that's why it feels shitty. So
I never thought
I don't
about
want to
that.
talk about this book anymore. I'll probably give away all my copies of this.
Worst book of 2022. Yeah. Sorry. I hate to say it. And we've read some pretty bad stuff, but I think the fact that there's a difference between being boring and being bad.
Yeah.
I think that's what did it.
What other books do you have?
What other books do we have? Let's jump over to a book that was actually pretty good. Did you read I Hate This Place, or I Fucking Hate This Place, if you get the explicit cover?
I did not get the explicit cover, but yes, I did go ahead and read I Hate This Place.
What'd you think?
I loved this book. It's definitely, so it's about this cute couple who who inherit this house like in the middle of nowhere. It's got a whole bunch of like acreage and stuff like that, and basically what ends up happening is that like weird spooky stuff starts happening, but then in the middle of the night, they're like exploring the house, and then they go in and there's a room that just has a whole bunch of like VHS and like a couch. And so then they're like, what the fuck? But then at night, basically there's a whole bunch of like spooky alien zombie shit that starts happening, and they find out that they can't leave. They find out
The
from the
house is
person the house
haunted.
is
There's
haunted.
aliens. It feels very like first season American Horror Story, where the evil is the house or the land per se.
This
Um,
reminded me a lot of Nice House on the Lake, where we're finding out more and more about the house the same time that they are. But I like this because it's not like it's like the characters are who they are. We're not like finding character backstories just yet, and it's not like a huge puzzle that's being unwrapped. So it doesn't treat me like I'm an idiot.
you're gonna hate me. This feels like Stillwater by Chip Zdarsky, but better.
Oh, see, I hated Stillwater, so like,
It
please.
feels like what if it honestly feels like what Stillwater was supposed to be, where a character, somebody dies, they inherit something, and
I
then they
need this
find out
eat
all of
trash.
this stuff is going wrong.
I need this eat trash
I
shirt. So if
think you
anyone,
can buy it.
I need it.
I think you can. Kyle Starks posted something.
Okay, done.
So yeah, this book was great. I really liked it. Personally, I wish that I understand it's a horror book. I wish that we had leaned more into the humor, because there's little bits of humor that poke through. I only say that because it's Kyle Starks, and y'all already know, if y'all been watching the show for a while, anytime a book by Kyle Starks comes off, I have to talk about a little book that was published a couple of years ago by Image Comics called Assassination, by Kyle Starks and illustrated by Erica Henderson. It is the funniest little assassin book, and there's a character named Fluck Tarkington who's queer. So that's my elevator pitch. Anytime Kyle Starks pops up, I have to talk about that book. But yeah, I really like this book. I'm excited to see where it's going to go. Yeah, I'm really excited.
One other thing that I really appreciate about this book, so it's a queer couple, and it is a white couple and a another woman of color, and I really appreciate the way that the like woman of color in the relationship, I can't remember either of the characters' names, but how it's like she's like, I don't
A
want to be here.
doomsday prepper too.
Yeah, but she's like, I don't want to be here. And I definitely feel that like from and she's the one with the guns. So like it's the black woman being like, I've got the guns, and the white girl's like, I don't know, I'm not comfortable with these guns. And the black girl's like, no, I'm prepared, because in reality, like, I think that people of color understand the way that the world works better
Yeah.
than white women do, where it's like this white woman wants to see the idealized version of like, I don't know, like, oh, let's just go and farm and, we'll live off the land. And then the black girl's like, no, there's danger all around us. Like, let me get out my guns. And then, I don't know, I really appreciated that. So thank you, Kyle Starks, for writing that. It just felt very, very real.
Very real, very real. There was another book, since we're still kind of talking about Image Comics. Another book that came out. Did you get a chance to read issue 2 of A Town Called Terror?
I did not. How was it?
I'm so conflicted on how I feel about this book. So this book came out last month. We complained that, we were given an interesting premise, but not much happened. We still did not know what was going on, but the artwork was beautiful. Apparently this is done by the same creator that did 30 Days of Night. So it's supposed to just be
Steve Niles and
Steve Niles. And I need to start
Ben
writing down
Temple?
stuff. Maybe. I'm not sure. But I don't know. I'm bad at this. I just read the books, okay? So, we kind of don't get much more in issue 2. I'm still confused at what is happening. At this point, we get to see a little bit more interactions from the characters and this guy and his fucked up family, and there's monsters, and he's a monster hunter, and he does all this stuff. And I'm like, I have been explained fuck all in this story. But at the same time, I'm like, I might read issue 3 because I'm curious as to where this story is going. So I'm at a crossroads right now. If this is a bad story because they have not told us anything, or if it's a good story because even though I'm being given nothing, I still want to know what's happening.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm leaning toward, is it good storytelling if you don't tell me anything, but I'm so intrigued that I want to know what's happening? Or is it bad storytelling because I'm still lost on issue 2?
Do you feel like you're being given any information or enough information, or is it like you're given the answer to one question that you have, but then in the meantime you're being given like two or more questions?
I think it's the second one where I'm being answered a question, but then they're sprouting because now we've introduced his family, and his family's a little off their rocker. We've got a brother who's kind of crazy, a sister who's also kind of crazy. The dad is obviously crazy, and this is a character that has tried to leave that, but is now being sucked back into it. And I'm like, but what exactly is the crazy? What is going on that's so bad you had to leave? So
Okay.
I don't know. I might read issue 3. It all depends on how busy that week looks, but Crossroads, is it good storytelling or is it bad storytelling?
I feel like I'm at the point, like, you know me, like I'll hate read almost anything because I just hate read Rain. And then last year it was Casual Fling, and then the year before that it was Mercy. So I'm not above like hate reading things or reading things that I don't love. But I feel like at this point I'm just like I want to spend my time reading the things that I know that I like instead of reading the things that I'm just like eh. But at the same time I'm like I get that FOMO where I'm like, what if it's good and I don't know yet?
Well, I will keep you up to date on issue 3. So
one of the other image books that I don't believe that you're on, but I really enjoy, New Masters by Shobo and Schaff and Segala. Shobo and let me see here. Shobo is the writer, Schaff is the artist, and that's like the names that they go by. But Francesco Segala does the colors. This book is just it's beautiful. I love it. I want to see this adapted into like Netflix animation. So anyways, it's pretty good. It's like a weird sci-fi fantasy
Afrofuturism.
Yeah. Please check it out because it's really good. I've got 3 more books.
I have 2.
Okay. What are your 2?
My 2, did you read the second issue of Alice Ever After?
Nope.
So issue 1.
I wasn't in love with issue 1, so I'm like,
hated issue 1.
Okay.
Hated issue 1. I feel like the second issue was definitely a step up, was a lot more cohesive in its storytelling. So we're basically introduced to, Alice. Now she's in an insane asylum. She now makes friends.
Doing drugs.
So she now makes friends with a doctor who, is feeding her liquid heroin, which is kind of weird. This book frustrates me because on the outside, it has such a cool premise. The idea that you take Alice in Wonderland, who's a character that has traveled to this mystical world, then comes back and is expected to live on her merry life without any sort of repercussions. It's something to be explored and something to be talked about. The idea that maybe after she's left that world, she starts to go a little bit crazy. Then maybe we throw her into a mental, asylum where we have to explore that line between what is real and what is fake. Kind of gives me like Moon Knight vibes, for lack of a better word, because a lot of the characters,
like mental illness,
a lot of the characters that are in this insane asylum, it's ran by the Red Queen. The two guard type people, I don't know what they're called, but there's a word for them, I don't know, but the 2 like people that escort her to and from places is Tweedledee and Tweedledum. We can see that the Mad Hatter and the White Rabbit are also patients. So I think it's a really interesting conversation and is a story that could be explored, but it's not doing it justice. We are barely scratching the surface on what this book could be. It feels like a very surface level. It almost feels like Dan Panosian watched Sucker Punch and was like, I can do that.
But make it Alice in Wonderland.
And listen, the idea of Sucker Punch, again, great thing. Zack Snyder fetishized women with mental illnesses, so it's not a great movie, but I like the concept of it. I feel like we're almost there. Yeah. We are so close to being able to break this barrier on a good story about mental illness and the difference between reality and what is in your mind. And it's just...
And the trauma of what you've been through.
It's not there yet. So maybe in another 10 years, I don't know, maybe we'll see a Peter Pan version of this. Because I feel like you could go...
I feel like we have already, but yeah.
We have already. I don't know. I want this book to be so much better. That being said, issue 2, I feel like we could have started with issue 2.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those where issue 1 gave us nothing. It was a lot of information thrown at once, not in a cohesive way. Issue 2 kind of levels it out, but I'm still not getting what I want from it.
Got it. Once again, like part of me is like, oh, like maybe pick up issue 3 and like that'll be when we get to see that. But maybe it'll be like I see this as a trade in a year or two on sale and pick it up, and we'll see.
It's definitely starting to feel like that for sure.
One of the other books that I know that you had read issue 1 and 2, I don't know if you've been reading it, but Hit Me by AWA. Did you read this week?
Yes. Listen, I love this book. I fucking love this book. This book is so good, and I love it. It's sexy without being gratuitous.
Yeah. I feel like it could almost be that way. There's a lot of things in this book that I feel like fetishize some things without having a lot of dialogue or without having some like backstory. But I do really appreciate it. And like you probably agree, there's this moment between the main character and this other character that she's had a relationship with before. I can't remember her name. She's like, oh man, I want to be choked by her. I don't know.
I'm like, me too, bitch.
I'm really enjoying it. Once again, it could feel very exploitative, but it's not. It feels very personal.
Do I feel like there's parts in this book that could be done a little tighter and that could have been cleaned up? Absolutely. It's not a perfect book. But I really like seeing, what's the word I'm looking for? Different sexual orientations. Mm-hmm. The fact that sex work is more than just prostitution and sleeping with a woman. The fact that there's such a wide variety and range of sex work, mm-hmm. things that I wasn't even aware of. Okay, this book is teaching me some things. Aww. But I really like this book. I'm really excited to see where it's going to shape up and end. Definitely leading up there in terms of one of my favorite series from AWA.
I agree. I would also say that if someone does like this, you should 100% read Safe Sex.
Yes, 100%.
By Tina, published by Image, because I think that some of the themes are the same, even if they do it a little bit differently.
Yeah, this and SFSX are buddy reads. They're perfect.
Yeah. Well, I've got 2 other indie books.
What else you got? Because I think that's you rounded me out.
Okay, so Black Hammer Reborn. This one
love that cover. Oh yeah, love it. Love it so much.
At first, when I saw the cover, because I know the backstory of the like actual painting, and apparently the actual painting is about a disabled woman who, anyway, I won't get too much into that because I'll just go off on a tangent. But this book, I love Black Hammer. This is getting into like the legacy of Black Hammer, and basically in this book, Colonel Weird goes to Black Hammer and is basically like, we need your help, and she's like, nope, sorry. And then, sorry, spoiler alert, we have like their Galactus coming through. Anyways, I think that there's like one more issue to this, or there's going to be a new series. So anyways, I think this is wrapping up. Cool. And can I just say, Caitlin Yarsky, I love her artwork. I love her artwork. She did Bliss, which was incredible. Mm-hmm. So anyways, it's issue 12. So catch up on it. The other issue that came out this week, it's issue 6 of House of Slaughter. Did you get a chance to read this one?
Oh, no, I have not. I haven't even touched House of Slaughter. I think I'm waiting for that to be trade.
So the first 5, so there's, something is killing the children, and we get introduced to the Order of St. George, and like we get all the masks and everything like that. So issues 1 through 5 were about like a secondary character in the something is killing the children world. Issue number 6 starts a new story arc with a different person, and I actually think that I like this one better than I like the previous arc. It features this other character who is a red mask and is going through kind of the same stuff that Erica was. I really liked it. I also got this, there's a body bag variant that I picked up, it had to be covered up. I don't really understand why, because it's not like dirty, it's just like grotesque is all. So anyways, that was the last book that I read this week.
It was a lot of books. A lot of books.
books. I mean, like, I'm used to picking up like 20 something books, but
But it was a
there was a lot.
heavy week. It was a heavy week with the ending of Bolero, the ending of Rain, all the other books in between. It was a lot of emotion.
Yep. Anything else? Any other books or anything else you want to talk about this week?
You read a book this week that I want to hear you talk about.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so I actually, because I have like literally just been in bed the last couple days, just trying to not die. I've been reading a lot more like graphic novels than normal. But Galaxy the Prettiest Star did come out this week. This book was so good. It features this character, Taylor, who is from another planet, another galaxy, and we find out that it's actually she is from another planet. She's the like crowned princess. The galaxy crowned is what they call her. And they are on Earth and they are in hiding. And it goes through, she has to hide who she is in this male human body, but that's not who she is. And it goes into like the town starts hating her and she falls in love. And this book was just so beautiful. It's so good. I think you will really like it because a lot of it is inspired by David Bowie. They're listening to like a
Oh,
David Bowie soundtrack through a lot of this.
that's all I
Um,
need.
yeah, and there's also a little dog character. I forget the dog character's name, but it reminds me of Cowboy Bebop. What's the little dog's name? Ein.
Fine.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. It feels like this could immediately have like a second book. Like this could keep going, even though like it ends in a really cute spot. So, anyways, Galaxy the Prettiest Star. It's one of those like small DC
The
ink
original
books.
graphic novels.
Yeah, like the young adult ones. But it was a pretty easy read. It's much smaller. I really, really, really loved this book by Jadzia Axelrod. And I just have to say, I love the name Jadzia because it's a Star Trek name.
Of course
And
it is.
Jadzia is one of my favorite characters from Star Trek. So, anyways, Galaxy the Prettiest Star was great. I want everyone to read
I'm
that.
gonna have to pick that up. And all of those original graphic novels have been amazing.
Yeah.
So it's great that there's another one to add to the list.
This was like the first issue was put out as a free comic book day, and it's like the same first issue. Yep.
So
Yep. Anything else from you? Anything else you got coming up, or any other like things that you're excited about?
no, I mean it's been a quiet week. Probably gonna spend the rest of the weekend. I'm rewatching Stranger Things and Umbrella Academy at the same time, which is insane because both have new seasons and I'm trying to catch up on both. And then the newest season of Sex, Death, and Robots came up. So fascinating on finishing that because it's one of my favorite shows and I don't want it to end.
I loved season 1 of Love, Death, Robots. Didn't love season 2. I'm kind of on the fence with season 3 so far, but I haven't finished it yet. I did get a chance to watch the Chip and Dale movie, which was actually
we were gonna watch that last night because I thought, oh, it's a show. We can watch one episode and we go put it on. And we're like, oh, it's a movie and it's 11:30 at night. We cannot start this right now. So
the only reason, I will be very, very honest, the only reason that I even started watching it, my partner started watching it, but I wasn't watching it. But then in another group chat that Bearded Comic Bro and Fire Guy Ryan, since we all like I Think You Should Leave, Tim Robinson from I Think You Should Leave plays Ugly Sonic. And there's a really funny moment. And so I'm like, okay, I see that. I told my partner, I'm like, just restart the movie, let me watch it. So it was kind of cute. Jadzia and War Forever, for real. So anyways, that's pretty much everything that I have. The only other thing, sorry, I know we mentioned this backstage. I watched the trailer for Boys. That looked really good. And I watched the trailer for 3,000 Years of Longing. Also looked really good. And I'm excited for both.
It's a lot of good stuff right now. And then SDC is around the corner, so I'm sure we're going to get a ton of announcements for everything once we hit that. So lots to look forward to.
We'll be here. we'll be here talking about it. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here this Sunday. I hope you all, whether you choose violence or choose whatever, do good things, and I hope you have a great Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.